Everyone in New Jersey loves food. We like cooking it, we like eating it, we even like talking about it. So with a big election coming up, I thought, let's get the people running for governor into the kitchen and get to know them through their favorite foods.
Hi, I'm Sean Spiller. I'm a high school science teacher. I'm the former mayor and councilperson of Montclair for 12 years. I'm the president of the New Jersey Education Association, and I'm running to be the next governor of the state of New Jersey. I love everything about New Jersey. When I talk to folks who don't live here, I say all the time, we've got it all. You know, in the summertime, you can be down the shore. I love it with my 7-year-old and 4-year-old. You can be skiing in no time at all. You can be out in farmland. You can be right near one of our big cities that we're close to, certainly New York. You know, it's got everything you want. So that's what I love about it. It's just a perfect place to be, perfect place to live. Today, I'm cooking with Koppell. I will be making jerk chicken, Jamaican jerk chicken. You better know how to do that if you're Jamaican, right? So I better have a little bit of skills in that area. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, I'm here with Sean Spiller. I'm ready to cook. What are we making today?
We're making some Jamaican jerk chicken. Certainly we got everything kind of laid out for us here a little bit, and we're going to kind of put it all together, make the jerk sauce that we're going to then marinate our chicken in, let it sit for a bit, and then of course fry it up and enjoy what I hope is something a little bit spicy, but really, really tasty.
All right, so before we do it though, this is personal for you, right?
Yeah, I'd say this. You look up, Jamaican,
right?
And,
that's what I'm saying. So that's your
got to know how to
heritage,
do. You got to know how to do this a little bit,
right?
But for me, look, I remember.
So I didn't realize. So your credibility's on the line here as a Jamaican.
Not only that, but my brother and I have a little competition going on right now as to who can do this a little bit better. So I'm hoping to use this platform, everybody, to kind of jump ahead of them. But yeah, no, it's something that certainly always had growing up. I remember a lot of the things my mom would really make, which were excellent. I've got a few of my favorites, but I didn't think we had enough time for some of her ribs and other things that she'd do. So I figured we'd do this. Yeah, future episode. We'll cook it up for that one.
All right, well, let's get started. I want to hear more about that, and we'll talk about a little bit of your family history because I think it's kind of interesting, and people want to know. But
let's chop up the onion. Something we can still work on there. So
we were just joking. Like when it's all here in these cups, it's like, well, this is gonna be really quick.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty quick. We can just kind of put it together. But
you're not fumbling around with the garlic cloves or anything.
That's right. That's usually the hard part, the slow part.
So I'm the onion cutter.
Now, I'll cut half if you want.
Well, do you go this way or do you go this way?
Well, I'll show you what I usually do.
Which is your? This is you.
Yeah, I usually cheat here like this. All right. Get the outside off.
Like real onion
quick.
Cutting technique.
Well, I'm just saying it helps me. I'm limited on time here with what I'm doing, right? And then I'll do the.
Not really, because we don't have to get any of the spices.
Exactly, we don't. I'm going to put it in this one as a discard for now.
All right.
We're good with that, and then. Right down like this. And if I was not doing a food processor to kind of grind it up, but I'd do a cross and the cross, but I know we can leave it a little bit bigger because of what we're doing here. But for something like this, do a couple quick cuts on this and throw it in the processor. And
so I want to talk about your family history, but we're here at Montclair Normal School. Mm-hmm. So as you know, that means we were created to train teachers. And with all you have titles, you've done the politics thing, you've done the union thing, but I still see you as a teacher.
I am. Yeah, I am.
So how did teaching, like why did you want to be a teacher?
Well, probably kind of same thing we were just talking about. I think the influence of your parents a lot. My mom was a math teacher in Jamaica.
Okay.
And so I always heard about, the stories with her teaching and the importance of education, certainly when my brother and I came here. So that was always instilled in me. And then probably another person who was really, really influential in my life. When I went to college, I went to Rutgers.
Right. I've heard of it.
Sorry, folks. Yeah. But, I went to Rutgers and big hockey guy. And playing hockey there. And my college hockey coach was a high school science teacher. And, every time I'd see him, he'd be talking about the kids, talking about his day.
Right.
And it just instilled in me like, man, he's having so much fun.
Yeah.
He's really enjoying what he does.
Yeah.
And, I graduated, tried to play a little minor league hockey, worked at the Associated Press for a little bit as a sports writer, editor. But then I went back to school, went back to Rutgers for education, graduated with my certification.
Knowing that you wanted to become a teacher.
Knowing that I wanted to become a teacher, and then became a high school science teacher.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it happened for me.
You taught science.
Yeah, anatomy and physiology, biology, life sciences.
That's cool. But no, I don't have to be persuaded. The best part of my job is being with the students. And just so you know, like our whole crew, they're all Montclair State University students and alumni.
Excellent.
Every single person involved in this production.
Yeah.
So that's the best part of the university experience for me.
It is.
Is still pretending that I'm a teacher.
The biggest thing about being in front of students and being in that classroom every day is it keeps you young,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And no matter what kind of day you're having, a student comes in, big smile on their face, something they're excited about,
Yeah.
and you're like, it just changes your whole
totally.
your whole day. So it's the best part about it. For
Yeah,
sure.
totally. All right, well, you're gonna
All right,
finish
all right.
cutting the
Yeah,
onion,
yeah.
You got it. Where
I
you
did.
Like it?
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Got
So what are
this
we
done
gonna?
here.
What's gonna go in with the onion?
Well, let's see. The next thing we can
I think
do
we're
here.
supposed to cut up the peppers. Too.
Yeah, I might let you do that, though.
All right. Well, Chef Jorge said I should
Warned you, put the
he
gloves
said-
on?
He said
Yeah.
wear my gloves for the peppers, so
All right.
I'm gonna listen to him.
Well, good idea. I'll go with you on that one. Now, normally
I'm
it
not
calls
really that
it calls for 2,
Okay.
but if you like it a little spicy,
Hell.
go 3.
Yeah.
If not, so I'll just say this too. So my dad, being from New Zealand, for me also it was an experience just seeing the difference in food.
Yeah.
My dad, and we visit my grandparents in New Zealand, much less frequently, unfortunately, with the distance.
Yeah.
But there it was every day. It
Lamb.
was. It was some, maybe lamb or something like that. But then it was go down and get some pumpkin. Pumpkin was a staple, so it was
I didn't know
pumpkin
that.
with
I didn't
either
know that.
fish or your meat. And then of course for dessert it was for afterwards it was kiwi fruit, right?
Right.
But that was it, like all the time. And my dad would
Pumpkin
just always
and kiwi
note.
fruit.
Yep.
So you don't get that from Flight of the Conchords.
You know what? Well, listen, you also don't get a lot of spices and a lot of other things with
true.
it.
That's
So
true.
so my dad was always like, oh, he loved like Jamaican food. He
Yeah.
loved spices. There was nothing that could be too spicy for him.
That's
just because,
funny. What part of you is the kiwi and what part of you is the Jamaican?
Oh yeah, I don't really know. I mean, listen, I think.
How do I cut it? Do you have a preferred?
Yeah, I usually go this way.
Okay.
And then pull
Get the seeds
yeah,
out?
Exactly.
We're not ready for the seeds. That's a bit much.
Exactly.
All right.
Just do it that way. That's how I usually do it. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. My dad would always laugh at me because my grandfather on my dad's side was huge in the labor movement in New Zealand. So he says, Sean,
You got it from
skip the
you got it
generation,
from-
but you
from
got
your
it from
grandpa.
exactly. You got it from your grandfather. And I smile now because with that, I'm a teacher and leader in a labor organization, and it's kind of a combination of my parents.
That
so
is my own joke. I
smile,
say the
yeah.
exact same thing. That my mother was a professor and my father was a politician, and I'm very creative. I averaged them and became a political science professor. So you and I
That's right.
are pretty,
That's right.
pretty similar.
It's
in that
amazing,
pretty similar in that respect.
For all you kids out there who think like you're not going to be anything like your parents, oftentimes you end up being
Wrong.
just like your parents.
Wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly
exactly.
right. Exactly right.
That's funny.
My brother and I were both born in Jamaica, but then we traveled all over the world. We lived in Australia for a long amount of time. We lived in Venezuela for a couple of years. We lived all over the world, and then.
Yeah.
Eventually, my parents said, "Hey, we want to go to the United States," and certainly, eventually came to here, New Jersey. And for me, I think that also is a big part of where I know, like, my parents have seen the world. You know, they saw a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And they still said
And they chose New
Yeah,
Jersey.
I was like,
Yeah.
they were like right here of all the spots
Right.
is where we want to live. and
Jersey
where we
by
wanna be.
choice.
Yeah. And so I was like, wow, that's kind of special.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
cool.
big.
That's cool.
Now I'm very mindful of you cut up too, I cut up too.
Yeah.
So listen, that's a lot, but we're gonna do it, right?
So I did. Do you know what this thing called Hot Wings is? The Hot Wings Challenge. This thing. So I did a Hot Wings thing in this room.
Okay.
And the wings were not hot enough. So we'll put it to the test. All
Okay. All right.
right. Let's
keep
start
pushing
putting
on.
other stuff in.
Yeah. All right.
What are we
sounds good.
going to do now?
So actually, I think we'll go here, and I know that I appreciate it. We got
Yeah.
a chef who's been working and helping us behind the scenes here.
So it's like
but
garlic?
this is a combination of garlic and ginger.
Got it? All right.
Right. And it's already, just so folks know, you can put about 5-6 cloves of garlic in there, right?
Right.
But that's about right. Ginger.
Taking the cooking show thing seriously.
Well,
I like
just
that.
letting you know.
No, I
if
like
you're trying
it.
to make
That's
it at
good. No,
home,
no,
right?
that-
Ginger, grab a piece a couple inches.
Yeah.
You just peel it and chop it. Is
Okay.
pretty much what you do. I will say this for me. I'll whisper here. I think this is like the secret ingredient. I'll just say that the ginger is, I think, what makes this whole thing pop.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if you.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ginger. in
Yep,
there.
there's a lot
Right,
of
should we
ginger
jump
in there. Yeah,
Or you do
there's
it?
a lot of
Okay.
ginger in there,
Yeah.
and
we can put it here so that's more.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Tel-
So we're sharing a
telegenic.
little bit more
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not hogging this,
Yeah,
but
there you go. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a pause, and then we're gonna do the rest. Finish the marinade. Get the chicken ready to throw in the fryer.
Sounds good.
And then we'll be ready to eat. So
All right.
let's take a quick break, and then we'll come right back.
Hawk Plus, the first student-run streaming service in the nation. The place to go for all things Montclair State University. Student films,
Is it really you?
news,
We start this episode with some breaking news on campus.
sports,
Montclair State men's basketball has been a road this season.
exclusive talk shows, alum interviews,
confidence.
and live events. Student produced and student run. Hawk Push. It's Montclair, streaming live and on demand.
Okay, we're going to get back and we're going to get serious about finishing up our marinade. So what else are we
do
putting in the bowl?
All right, so first things I think we'll do, because we only need about a half a teaspoon of it here, we'll go with a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg.
Okay.
All right, so might as well put some of that in here, right?
All right.
And again, listen, when I'm cooking all the time too, you'll follow general recipes, but always feel free to add a little more. You gotta. It's
the right amount is what you put in.
Exactly. You're always trying to play with it a little bit to, see
All right,
what,
so what was that?
you're thinking there, right?
That was the nutmeg?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So what do we got in these other cups here?
So next we've got a lot of things. We got allspice here.
Okay.
Right, so we'll do this.
I always think the name allspice is funny. Is it a spice?
Yeah.
Is it allspice?
Yeah.
It's a weird name,
right? Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we always
sorry.
have that conversation.
That's my
like
Seinfeld. What's the deal with
pimento
allspice?
and allspice and what that looks
Okay,
like. and
go
everything
ahead.
else,
I
right?
didn't mean to
All right.
interrupt.
So now we can put in a little bit of the pepper here.
Okay.
So we'll do again a teaspoon of that.
Yep.
Again, you can go a little bit more, a little bit less if you want. Salt, and I appreciate we've got two different kinds of salt here.
We've got
which our
this is
chef
fancy.
can speak to a
This
little more,
is fancy.
a little bit of a coarser grind
Yep.
and a more fine.
What do you
grind.
like?
Whatever I have.
Okay.
Normally I've got a little bit more
There you go.
of a fine grind,
Go
so
with-
let's
go
do
with
that.
what you know.
Right, and this we're doing a tablespoon.
Okay.
All right, so we'll put this in here. All right, brown sugar. You can't go wrong here.
Brown sugar is important for jerk
Yeah,
chicken.
I think this is mostly measured out, but we're going to do
Yeah.
2 tablespoons of that.
All right.
Roughly.
There we go.
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, can't go wrong on that one. You want to start doing this? We're going to add the juice of
Okay. I can do
a
something
lime
to
in
make
there. Yeah,
myself
so
useful.
you can add that piece there.
Looks like we've got, what is that? One of those is molasses, right? What are those? What are those?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So apple cider.
Oh, apple cider. Okay.
All right. Vinegar.
Yeah.
All right, good. You
There we
didn't
go.
squirt too much on me, but good thing I got your apron with your picture on it.
Look at that
Yeah,
apron.
it looks good. We get a close shot of that.
That's
Mhm.
our guests receive
Yeah.
a Cooking with Koppell apron.
Yeah, as I was saying before the show, I'm like, that's the only reason I'm coming on. So there we go. you know?
Very, very popular item.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
Okay.
All right, so let me do the soy sauce first.
Soy sauce. That's what
Yeah,
that is.
put a little of this.
Do you want more or just
Well,
half?
no, whole one. So
all
yeah,
right.
do the other one too.
All right. Here we go.
You taste that a lot too. That
The lime?
and the
Yeah.
and the ginger.
Okay.
So if you kind of like a little more pop on both of those, you could do that. We'll do 2 of these.
All right. So when did the teaching thing turn into the politics thing?
You know what? For me, it was. I remember I'm teaching anatomy and physiology,
Yeah.
and one of the things was, how much say do you have in what you dissect, and a few of the pieces. And I was like, well, how do we make sure, like, we have a say in this? And that's kind of my start point. If somebody's like, well, you should talk to the union, and I'm like, what is
Right.
this,
Right.
But I remember walking by our association office and knocking on the door and saying, hey, I'd like to get more involved and help out. And I think our president at the time gave me like a funny look. Don't normally get that question.
Right.
But she said, come on in. And for me, obviously, with a little bit of my experience as an assistant sports editor, she's like, well, do you want to work on our newsletter? I said, sure.
Okay.
So I kind of got involved.
Right.
After a couple years, she came to me one day and said, Sean, I'm going to have a kid and would love you to step up and be the president.
Okay.
And I mean pretty literally, because she was adopting. And
Yeah.
she had gotten notice that literally the next day she was
Okay.
going to go and be able to adopt her child, right? Which was awesome news, but it
Yeah.
was like right then.
That's
you know?
now.
So eventually, right then became president
Yeah.
at the local level.
Oh, wow.
But for me, it was also something where working in Wayne always really built strong relationships with our Board of Education and the community.
So you were teaching in Wayne at the time?
Yeah, teaching in
okay.
Wayne, and really, really proud of that.
Yeah.
And for me, I watched, it was in that moment that Chris Christie was elected.
Yeah.
And I really saw how acrimonious the relationship was, and certainly even more broadly with public
Yeah.
employees and otherwise. But for me, I said, hey, I've always had a skill of like building those relationships. Maybe I should get more involved at the state level.
Yeah.
And eventually I ran for state office.
Right.
And, it's got to get elected by 200,000 educators.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of taste of like what I'm doing now, which is going statewide.
So the path to getting involved in electoral politics was through the union. You didn't.
Yeah,
You
so
weren't thinking about the.
No, I wasn't.
Before that.
No, I wasn't. I got
Okay.
involved there.
Okay.
And when I decided to run,
We got to multitask. Do we put
I know.
this
I
in?
actually forgot if I put that
Yeah.
in. I think I did.
we'll put it in.
All right, we're putting
Yeah,
it in.
yeah, whatever.
If this is a little bit off, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's an experimental cooking show.
That's right.
So are we going to mix this up?
Yeah, I think. Well, hold on. I got to put a little thyme in here.
There's thyme.
Yep.
Okay.
Put that in. We did the pepper ready. We did all these.
What's that? What do we got there?
This is the allspice.
Oh, the allspice. We never did that.
I don't
No, we
think
did
we
not.
did the allspice.
We
right?
did. My hilarious
All right. And I think this is
allspice
about
bit distracted
measured
you.
out to 2.
Okay.
All right, tablespoons there. And last thing, we can put some oil.
Yeah, that's going to
So
be
we need
necessary.
a half a cup.
Okay.
What are we at here?
You're really going to measure the oil when you get,
All right.
I mean,
all right.
come on.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, who are we kidding?
This is a cooking show. You're supposed
Yeah,
to measure
I
these things.
know,
think.
but
all right,
go
it's
ahead.
a half a cup.
All right, go ahead.
All right. All right. Oh, I was going to say if this is going out this slow.
I don't measure. I don't measure oil. I just.
Well, listen,
go
you
with
got to
my-
have
I
enough
go
for
with
when
my-
you're blending this thing
go,
up.
I go with my gut.
I hear you, but here, actually, in seriousness, like,
Yeah.
if you put too much of it,
Yeah.
your mixture won't stick to the chicken
Yeah,
as
I hear
much when
that.
you're trying to marinate
I
it. So
hear
you
it.
don't want to go like too much there.
hear
But anyway,
I
we got
hear
it
it.
about right.
I'm sure
So-
it's about right.
Yeah, it's about right. So you're mixing this together,
Yeah.
and then what we would do is put this in the food processor, put it in the blender, get it into a nice paste.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see we've got the Ziploc bags here. So we'll throw the chicken in there. We'll throw that paste in there with the chicken. What I'll do at home, for those of you who want to go advanced on this,
Yeah.
I'll use the vacuum sealer and like really get it on
yeah,
there.
no, that'll really work.
Because as we were just chatting about beforehand, really letting this marinate for 24, 48 hours
Yeah.
is great. But listen, I'm getting home late at night, don't really have that time all the time, and sometimes I'll just put the vacuum seal on, leave it for a few
So
hours,
is this
and
enough
get
to
away
put
with
it in the bag now? You think?
Well, we'd really have to
We'll
grind
put it
that up
in a
yeah.
food processor.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we
throw that in
will.
a food process.
We'll
food
simulate. We'll
processor.
simulate it.
Simulate.
We'll simulate it.
Simulate.
There's a lot of simulation here. That's okay. That's okay.
All right. We will pretend this is a chopped up paste.
So
at
what?
this point.
So I am curious, since
Yeah.
since now we know the family history of labor organizing in New Zealand.
Yeah.
What did your dad think? Did he think it
Yeah.
was hilarious that you were getting into the labor stuff in New Jersey?
Yeah,
as a
no, he
teacher?
always found it really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And to your point before, so as I was getting involved on the labor
Are you gonna
side,
Are you gonna put the chicken
I'll put
in?
the chicken in.
There we
yeah.
go.
As I was getting involved more and more on the labor side, I remember sitting there one day and saying, you know what, I should be more involved where I live. I'm so involved where I work.
Right.
And for me, I started just talking to neighbors about the issues they were having and the issues I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually scheduled a meeting with our councilman at the time who represented us.
Right.
I remember
Here in Montclair?
Here in Montclair.
Okay.
And I said to him, Nick Lewis is his name. I said, "Would you meet for some coffee?" He said, "Absolutely not." He said, "But
What do you mean absolutely not?
he said, absolutely
that
not."
wasn't
He
what
said,
I was expecting.
I know. But he said, "I'll meet you for tea." I said,
okay.
"Fair enough." So we
okay.
met at the
Okay, I was
library.
like-
He's like, "Nope."
That was a bit of a left
It was
turn.
right, but he's like, "I'll give you." I got about 20 minutes. Sure enough, 2 hours later,
Yeah.
we're still chatting, and it was a
Right.
great conversation just to kind of understand government and everything else. And
Yeah.
from there, I ended up stopping at Staples one day, printing up little note cards saying I'm running for council, and sure enough, I got elected. And really was elected a council person and also to my NJAA position at the same time.
Oh, that was all around the same time.
all right at the same time. Was a councilman and an officer at NJA for almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually ran for mayor and president of NJA at the same time.
Right. Oh, I didn't
And
realize that
became
was all
mayor
simultaneous.
and president at the same time. as well.
So now I got to introduce you to somebody who's going to help our simulation process
reality?
up. So
Okay.
come here, Chef Jorge. This is our university chef Jorge Padmore. Fantastic cook. He's going to make the simulation possible.
Yeah.
Because he's going to take the marinated chicken. So what we would do, we would put it in. How long would you put it in the fridge, Sean?
As long as possible.
Okay.
Again, for me, unfortunately, I never have enough time, so I'm leaving it vacuum sealed for hours.
Okay.
But you'd really love to leave it for 24 hours or something like that. Maybe
Okay.
Maybe a little longer if you
And
think.
then we're going to hand off to Jorge, and then we're going to sit down and enjoy some delicious chicken.
I love how that magic works.
And finish the
Just
conversation.
Look at that. Yep, perfect.
Whoosh!
At Montclair State University, we don't just create opportunities, we transform lives and strengthen communities. Here, you'll learn by doing, guided by expert faculty who are advancing research and deepening our understanding of the world in education, healthcare, psychology, science, criminal justice, business, and technology. Our location in the heart of the dynamic New York-New Jersey region offers access to internships and careers, from Wall Street to Broadway, from startups to Fortune 100 companies. Montclair graduates go far. Alumni are leaders across industries, driving progress in their companies and communities. At Montclair, we believe in your future and make it possible with an education that's both top tier and affordable. Join a university that values you, supports you, and prepares you to soar.
Okay, while we were away, we were slaving over the meal. We prepared these beautiful
Look at that.
plates. What I didn't realize is we've got these nice orange rice. I'm going to pretend that what that is mashed up pumpkin.
Oh,
Because
I
that
see where you went
because
there.
that
Very nice.
that's
Yes.
what it should have been had we
Fair.
known
Fair.
had we known that.
Well,
Had
I
we
just
known
want
that.
to know for the record, this
Yeah.
is exactly how I present the dish to my 7-year-old and 4-year-old when we're cooking here, just like this.
Well, that's good. That's a good joke because one of the things that I like about food, which is why we do this cooking with Koppell thing,
Yeah.
is that it's a way of getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
So what does it really look like when you and your family are eating this jerk chicken? Like, what's the mental image that you get, like that this food conjures up for you?
Oh, well, right. Well, the layout would be, we'll all be sitting around. My wife, of course, would be loving this. My 7-year-old would want to love it, right? So because he wants to love some of these spices, so
Yeah.
he would be eating a little bit of this.
Yeah.
And certainly for the 4-year-old, I would have made a separate one for him that
Okay.
we would have called jerk chicken.
Okay.
But would have had
Okay.
not much on it at all.
toned down
a toned down version, toned down, or we would have to scrape some stuff here. But then when we have that opportunity to sit together and eat, it's pretty special. Because unfortunately, especially right now, I'm out.
Yeah,
so
sure.
often out late.
What
but-
about the childhood version, or when you would visit Jamaica? Like,
Yeah,
do you think of eating jerk chicken in Jamaica from when you were visiting your
nothing,
mom's family?
nothing like this,
Yeah, I
right? It would be
understand.
literally, we'd be out and, you're on the street and you're grabbing folks, cooking out a drum and just, enjoying it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a different experience. And I think it was like a special thing for our family for sure. When I was visiting my grandparents, it would also be a lot different, right? You're also there.
How come?
A lot less of your protein, and it was a lot more, probably a lot healthier,
Yeah.
too. But it's a lot more of your banana. It's a lot
Oh,
more
okay.
of, other things, and maybe a little bit of,
little bit
goat
of
or
meat,
something
yeah.
else,
Yeah.
whatever that was. But like this would be, hey, we're going to visit. We might be having jerk chicken or running around. But as a family there with my grandparents, it was much more green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a try.
All right, let's do it. Let's see here. Yep.
Yum. That's
like it.
good.
Yeah,
it's
good.
really good. I like it. So, build
Just
on
making
that.
sure you can get your pepper there, that you don't miss that.
You think I'm afraid of that pepper?
No, I'm just saying. You were the one bragging before about
I'm
how
not.
it just wasn't hot enough.
I'm
for
not
you, and
intimidated
I'm just
by
saying.
pepper.
Okay.
Dude, you don't scare me. Just pay attention.
All right, fair.
Camera getting that? I'm gonna eat I'm eating the pepper. I'm not afraid.
All right.
So, I'm interested in the politics versus the union. It is a hot pepper.
I can hear your voice.
I'm laughing at myself. I'm like, oh, maybe not have been the smartest thing. Because I'm going to feel that.
Water's
the rest
right
of the-
there,
I'm
by
not
the way,
going to
yeah.
die, but I do feel it.
Oh,
No,
I heard your voice change immediately. So
No, I felt
I'm
it.
proud of the fact that you went for it right
No,
there. Yeah.
I may be stupid, but I'm not a coward. So talk about the ways in which getting involved in government, right? Obviously, as mayor in Montclair, how that is different than the labor side, right?
Yeah.
That they're both political.
Sure. Yeah.
But how does that touch different parts of your brain?
Yeah, they're different and they're the same, right?
Yeah.
I always talk to folks and I say I really have enjoyed that experience of serving in both roles because they've always fed off of one another, right? And what I mean by that is, look,
Sorry about that.
No,
I sprayed
you
you
didn't
a
get
little,
me there. But it's been spots where, look, I know I'm in certain rooms because I'm an elected official, but I might be sitting at the table with the governor because I'm the president of NJA, right? So there are dynamics that play off each other, but it's an opportunity where, I'm not having double the conversations. I'm able to have a conversation, right, with the governor, and we're talking about some things Montclair and then some things, with regard to education. So it's been very beneficial in that regard. But what I'll say is for either one, what I find really, really interesting is just you learn so much in either position. You're problem solving in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to try and, have some kind of accomplishment where, you're making a difference for folks.
Right.
I mean, fundamentally, that's what both positions allow.
Right.
You're doing something, at the end of it, it might be a policy you're enacting, it might be
Right.
an issue you're solving for someone.
Right.
But at the end of that, at the end of that day, someone's going to you, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You made X better for me. You solved this issue. And that's really, really rewarding.
Yeah, so that's interesting because I think from the outside, people don't see that, right? They see the yelling and the shouting and the so on. So maybe I'm answering the question for you already, but I'm just curious, as a lot of young people today are thinking about the world, and I personally want to encourage people to go into public service. That's what I'm about. That's what I think this university is about. How would you encourage somebody, not for political reasons, not because of this policy or that policy, just generally, Democrat, Republican, how would you encourage somebody to say, hey, you should do this with your life, or at least a part of your life?
Well, the first thing I'd say to folks is just do it, right? I mean, you're never like, oh my, am I ready? Do I know anything?
Right.
Just do it, right? And I think that's the most important piece. I say to folks all the time, if we want folks in office who are making decisions that we think are, grounded in the right reasons, there's no one better to do that than you.
Right.
There's no one better to do that than bringing that different perspective, right? So it's important. So I say to folks, just first thing, just do it, right? Get out there, try and do it, and engage. And then I think as along the way, you will learn. Inherently, you'll learn so much. You'll figure things out, and you'll.
But I'm talking about the person. So you're talking about the person who wants to do it, but they're not sure they're ready or whatever. I'm talking about the person that's like, I don't want to be with those people. I don't want to do that.
Well, if you want to change those people, right, then we got to have more other people there, right? I mean, if that perception.
Well, that's part of the answer, right?
It is part of the answer, and I say this to everybody. Like, it's when people talk about politics or politicians, I'm like, no, everything we do in life is politics. Like, every single thing we do in life is politics, right? It's just a matter of like, how are we debating, discussing, sharing our views, our opinions, and trying to get us to a place where we're getting something done. Right. That happens every day in our lives at home. It happens at work.
Oh, yeah.
And on a scale of determining government policy, it's the same thing. So let's get different perspectives involved. Let's get your perspective involved, right? And have that engagement, have that discussion. So I get it. There's a ton of people who checked out in many ways, but the hope is we keep getting folks who do maybe think of it differently and say, I can do this too.
Okay. So here's an interesting thing. How do you think your background as a teacher, being in a classroom filled with kids and teaching science, how do you think that affects your behavior, good, bad, or other, when you're in the political domain?
Yeah, I think it's a huge asset, and I say this, and sorry folks, no disrespect for the lawyers out there, the Wall Street guys, but we got a ton of them in politics, right? That's who we have. But I say to folks all the time, we need more educators, right, in politics, right, in elected office, in public service, because of the fact that, hey, what do we do every day? We meet our students where they're at, right? We understand that if we're not connecting with them, we can't convey or have a conversation. Right? We're making sure we're fighting for what they need, right? Them, their family members, what our communities need. That's exactly what we need to do. We understand that you've got to be able to communicate, right? And get back to folks, be organized. That's everything an educator does. That's literally what the job is, right? So I say to folks, no, when I talk to educators, you are perfectly suited for public service.
So you've got an eager adherent. As you know, we started off as Montclair Normal School, which means we existed to train teachers. I think teachers are critical, and critical not only for teaching, but also critical for democracy, right? That's why we exist. So yeah, I'm an easy sell. I'm an easy sell.
I'm going to chalk that up to you like the food that we made.
The food was good.
You're hearing what I'm saying, so good.
By the way, the pepper was a momentary weakness. I'm fine. You don't impress me much with your Scotch bonnet pepper. We're all good. Anyway, thank you so much. That was delicious. I feel like I had a little bit of the family heritage.
That's it.
I didn't quite have I still want to get the New Zealand.
We'll do that next time.
The New Zealand part mixed in, but we'll get
some fish and pumpkin and
we'll get it next time. But thanks for being on the show. Very excited to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.